Hello and welcome to GPTV on Tuesday the 15th of April. My name is Philip Kingston.
And I'm Gary Peer.
And Gary, as we head towards the Easter weekend, it's an interesting time to be in real estate in Melbourne.
It certainly is, Philip. How about last weekend? They called it Super Saturday, and it was Super Saturday, and it was Sensational Sunday for those who work on Sunday, wasn't it, Philip?
Yes, and we are the Sunday workers in Melbourne.
We are indeed.
My next life, I'm coming back as a real estate agent, Gary, where we just work Monday through Wednesday.
Yes. Well, I don't know what sort of real estate agent you'd be if you did that.
Probably a pretty quiet one, actually.
A pretty unsuccessful one as well. But Phil, before we review the weekend that was, I'd like to talk a little bit about where we are right now. How about this one?
Why are you speaking so quietly, just out of interest?
Well, I've got a very bad throat, Phil, and I'm not sure. It's a combination of three things. There's the cigars at the card games on Friday night.
Yep.
There's screaming at the television Saturday afternoon on the replay of Carlton Melbourne, and well done to your mighty D's. You were there,
Do you know
weren't
what? I actually went to that game, Gary. The life of a real estate agent, I tend to get to the second half of most football matches, but joined my family at the MCG, the hallowed ground, to see Melbourne get up against Carlton. I've got to tell you, that's Melbourne's first win for the season, which is great to see a win, finally, thankfully. But great to beat Carlton. In fact, listening to Talkback Radio, Gary, everybody that wasn't a Carlton supporter was ringing the radio station saying how good it was to see the Mighty Demons get up. Anyway, that's enough of your misery.
I get a feeling... I haven't finished.
Okay.
You asked me a question. So the second reason was that, and the third reason was, Phil, I did do a number of auctions. I think I actually did more than you did on the weekend.
You did?
I think I did.
I did come to see you do an auction in Cobden Street, but we will put that to the sidebar for the moment, as we talk about where we are, Gary, which is 8 Victoria Street in Elstonwick. What a cracker of an address this is.
This is an estate, Philip.
What an
not a home,
incredible
just
house.
a home. It's more.
What an incredible parcel of land. Firstly, for those viewers that might not be familiar with Elstonwick, Victoria Street is one of the best addresses because we're directly opposite the most magnificent park and gardens.
Yep.
Just sensational. So from this point, we can walk straight across the road to the park.
Yes.
We can walk to the tram and Glen Huntley Road. We can walk to all of my favourite cafes. We can walk to the classic cinema.
We can
walk to the train station.
Why not?
You just don't get a better position than this. In excess of 1,200 square metres of land, 5 bedrooms, multiple entertaining zones, a drop-dead gorgeous facade. Gary, does not get better than this.
I grew up around here, Phil, as you know, and of course...
You might have grown up around here, Gary, but not in a house as salubrious as this. And I say that with due respect to your dear mother, who did her best to bring you up, but certainly you grew up on a property that was about a quarter the size of this.
I did. So, kind of like this lounge room. That's what I was talking about. I grew up probably like this area, but I grew up at that park, Philip, across the road, climbing on the cannons and enjoying all of the facilities. And there used to be another cinema when I was a little boy. Now, this is for people who are a little bit older that understand. There was the Renown Cinema, Philip.
And where was the Renown?
The Renown Cinema was in Glen Huntley Road, where the Renown Arcade is, opposite Office Works. A lot of people don't know that. So when I was a kid, I used to go there, give them our, a few shillings or whatever it was. The organ grinder was out the front. Anyway, it was all very good. But this is a wonderful area. This is an incredible, beautiful period home, Philip. The grounds are fantastic. The pool is beautiful. The orientation is great.
Everything's beautiful, Gary. I think we've given this house a big enough rack.
Okay.
Let's move on to the weekend, where the industry average fell marginally below 70%.
Now, not us, though.
No, Gary.
Oh, no.
And as I mentioned on GPTV last week, you can get the facts and you can get the exact results from GPA, because we do not tell any fibs. We do not do late reports. We tell each other the truth, Gary. We had 12 auctions on the weekend, Gary. Sold 9 out of 12, gave us a 75% market clearance rate against the industry average of just under sub 70. Tell me, Gary, what do you think a sub 70% clearance rate for the industry means?
Less than 70%.
That's why they pay me the big money, and that's why you're just the anchor for this show, Gary. That's why really I have to conduct the serious part. Viewers, a sub 70% clearance is probably just an indication of a market that has had huge momentum, that is starting to settle. 65 to 70% clearance rates from big volumes we would call a pretty good market. But it's interesting to see the market is starting to drop its clearance rate slightly.
That's what they're talking about. And look, it must be happening. I didn't feel it on the weekend. weekend. I felt the market was very, very strong. We had some incredible results, although the flats have been a little bit softer. And
do you know what? That's an interesting point, Gary. Let's talk about the apartments. We don't call them flats anymore. We haven't for about 5 years, Gary. Everything is an apartment these days. But let's talk about the apartments. We did notice in that $350,000 to $500,000 price range, particularly in St Kilda on the weekend, a lot of them passed in.
Interesting.
I think that's probably a bit of a buying opportunity for first home buyers and investors to get into the market, because I think that market's taken a bit of a breath.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And one of the writers who wrote into GPTV, Philip, said they'd like to know more about the passed-in properties. And we're going to do that, Phil. Not in this edition, but we are going to do that because the passed-in properties often spell opportunity. In fact, there are some people...
A bit of a shout-out to Stephen. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Stephen, because Stephen did write in saying he loves the show.
He likes it.
Loves the show, he does.
He thinks it's okay.
But he would like to hear about the passed-in because he said, and his words to us were, as a buyer that's looking for something and has missed out on a few auctions, he wants to actually explore the ones that we did pass in, which is good. Which is a good thought.
Well, there's a few that we passed in on the weekend. Maybe we'll just do everything in reverse and talk about those.
Okay,
because there was one that I passed in, Philip, and I did a superb job of it, I don't mind saying. That is on Malvern Road, Dandenong Road, beg your pardon, in Malvern East. Now, this apartment, Philip, is a fantastic two-bedroom apartment. The asking price is $399,000. I reckon that's great value, and perhaps by the time this makes it to air, it'll be gone.
And
but what a buy.
Gary, talking about buyers, what about, I think it's 12 at number 9 Kooyong Road.
How's that for
in
a
Caulfield
buy?
North. Now, this is an incredible buy because it's priced now at $389,000.
Unheard of.
And that's on the Kooyong Road Hill between Alma Road and Dandenong Road, a two-bedroom apartment in a quality building. That's a one-bedroom apartment price, so hurry up for that one.
Philip, the third passed-in property was at 47A Rosella Street in Murrumbeena. Now, this is a beautiful property. There was an offer there, Philip, of $1 million, which the vendor has chosen not to accept, but we're working out what the reserve is, probably be refined in the next 24 hours, and that's another beauty. So,
call the Samuel Brothers if you'd like to have a look through that home.
You don't mess with the Samuel Brothers, Phil.
You don't.
Let's talk about some of the properties that sold on the weekend, because there were some beauties, Philip Kingston.
Well, Gary, I want to talk about an auction that I went to in Cobden Street on Sunday morning at 10:30. Now, I wasn't scheduled on at 10:30. No. My next auction was at 11:30, but I thought, I've got an hour spare. Thought I might drop in to rate you because one of the things that I like to think that I'm responsible for is ensuring that all of our auctioneers auction to a terrific standard. Yes. So I thought I'd drop in unannounced to Cobden Street.
Are you presuming that I'm interested in your opinion?
To see how you went, Gary. Now, I've got to tell you, what an unbelievable result that was.
Philip, I was very happy to give you a bit of a lesson in auctioneering and a bit of an update for you to have something to aspire to, because I think that's probably the greatest premium that we've got all year. This property, the reserve was $960,000. Adam Josky handled it. There was a lot of interest. We thought we'd probably break through that barrier. And I don't know, maybe the vendors would have even dropped the reserve. We had the first half of the auction, Philip. It stopped at $890. We went inside. It looked a little bit slow. But lo and behold, Philip, things started happening there. Magic started becoming created, and it sold for
$1,261,000. That is a new record price for a semi of that description. That is just off the Richter scale.
$300,000 over reserve, so that one is phenomenal. I think in percentage...
The viewers will be interested to know, because this was a property on the east side, directly across the road with a back garden that faces west. We sold a semi last year, which I thought was better than the one that you sold on Sunday.
Different auctioneer.
Possibly so. And that one sold, price is undisclosed, but just over $1 million. This just goes to show the power of auction, because $1,261 is just an enormous price. You'd never get through that through the private sale process.
You know what? I would say congratulations to the buyer. They've spent $1,000 more than the next person to get it, Philip.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it did have a great feel. It was a unique property. It was an incredible sale.
Sets the benchmark for the next auction.
Well, it does, but you don't know how the pool of people will see the next home and whether they'll be that one buyer less there. But
makes our job a bit more difficult, viewers, because the next vendor that calls us in that street will be saying, well, you got $1,261, $1,261,000 for that, so I reckon my house is better, so I want $1.5 million. We're up for the challenge if you're watching this Cobden Street Vendors. Now, just a bit of a critique, Gary. I thought you did a really good auction.
That's some problem with it.
No,
Thanks
it was a really
very
good
much.
auction. I thought that you had some technical problems, and I think that while you're still using the old speaker, I've got absolutely no idea, given the fact that we spent thousands on the new speakers.
Just would have been someone to have told me.
So we'll address that. But I think, Gary, I found your preamble.
Yeah.
Right. There was two components of your preamble.
Yeah.
Right. I thought your preamble was boring.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say this on screen,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry to say this and to give you this critique right now. But I thought the actual auction part, you were fantastic. You were charismatic. You were charming. You were out there. You were good. But your preamble was so 1970s. So we're going to have to talk about that in auctioneer training school that I do run, and that you will have to compulsory attend for the next 3 sessions until we get that part better.
I can't quite remember inviting you to that auction, nor inviting your comment, but I'm sure that there is somebody that's interested, just not me. Let's talk about some of the other auctions that happened over the weekend, Phil. Let's get into them now. Philip, Saturday we started off at Burke Street, Mentone. We love it out there in Mentone,
I've
don't
got
we?
to tell you, we've been selling a lot of properties in Mentone and Hyatt.
Why not?
Might have to open an office there, I think, because we're having some tremendous success down there. Tell us about that property.
Well, that property was sold for $535,000, Philip. Well done to Leo Samuel, did a great job there. One of the other amazing sales, Philip, on Saturday was in Deakin Street in East Bentley. Now, while you were off to the football, swanning around with all of your Melbourne hobnobs, I was there in Deakin Street, Philip, grinding out an auction. The reserve on that property was $760,000, which is what you'd expect for a kind of nice brick veneer property on a good solid block. And there'd been lots of sales. It wasn't long ago we were selling properties there for between $600,000 and $700,000. So this one, $760,000, the reserve, Philip, sold for $960,000 with 5 or 6 bidders there. Very sought after. Bentley East is a hot area, and we love it there, Phil.
Well, there's no question that prices have really kicked on there, Gary. And if you think in terms of that whole Centre Road Bentley experience now, which is jam-packed full of fabulous cafes, and it's a really good shopping experience. And I think that strip shopping centres really do drive markets. And if you think about the best suburbs in Melbourne, they're all underpinned by a really good strip shopping centre. Bentley's now become what we regard as almost an inner suburban experience. So
It's become under that banner of prestige, Phil. So congratulations to the vendors there. Long-term friends of Leon Goosen Fitters, and well done to Leon. He does a good job in Bentley East. One at 980 Glen Huntly Road. I got together with Leon again there on Saturday afternoon, and this was great. I was thrilled for the vendors, Phil, because they'd auctioned it once before, not with us.
With another agent who we will not talk about on camera, but
no, don't rub it in, because you know
they were reading the auction results, seeing that they failed and we succeeded.
You're not going to rub it in, are you? Anyway, Philip, this one, which last time I don't think got even 700, so I believe, we had a reserve on that property at $720,000, and we sold it for $738,000, Philip, with 4 bidders. What a great result.
Fantastic.
Congratulations to the vendors, the most delightful people. Phil, the other auction that I want to just talk about quickly is on Sunday, which you conducted in Wanda Road. Tell us about that.
Gary, that was a fantastic apartment, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, one of only 2, and I love that streets of Wanda and Narrong Road, which are full of those kind of builders' own properties where they built an apartment downstairs, sold it, and lived in the one upstairs.
They're so solid, aren't they?
Oh, they're brilliant, and on good size land. Anyway, we had a competitive auction there, passed in, got the buyer up, sold it after auction.
An undisclosed
congratulations to the buyers, because they really have bought the most fantastic apartment.
A great weekend. I mean, we had some really strong results. So when I read in the paper about the market sort of softening and a bit patchy, and I saw it with some of the apartments. I didn't feel it with our auctions. They were really very, very strong. And there are some great opportunities with some of those ones that we didn't sell. There's 3 left, Phil, and we will bring you on GPTV some of those past-ins and where they end up, Philip, because some people are interested. Where are they now?
Well,
we'll
that's
have a
right,
segment.
Gary. And interesting for the viewers to note that when we do pass properties in, I would say 90% of the properties that we pass in are sold within 2 to 3 weeks of the auction.
Generally so.
If we look at the auction cycle, saying selling before auction, at auction, or shortly thereafter, I reckon our clearance rate's right up there in the kind of 95% range.
It is, and it's 95% of everything we're given. That's Darren Congold, who keeps all the stats, Philip. He has great pleasure in telling me at the end of the year, 94%, 96%, 95%. It is around 95%. And sometimes when they don't get the price, Philip, the vendors just withdraw them, because I think they know if they can't get it with us, it's not going to happen for them,
They
Phil.
put them back into the rental market,
They
Gary,
do.
and
Well, they
that's
stay
always
there.
a good thing. Yeah,
that's
well, they
okay
stay
too.
there.
a nice little quiet weekend this weekend for Easter, Philip, and certainly we wish everybody a good break. No auctions to review coming up, but next week we're going to be back, Phil. We're going to be bringing it to everybody on Easter Tuesday.
And not only that, Gary, but we're now preparing for a very busy May.
Oh, yeah.
June is looking pretty good
happening.
as well. So this market continues to surge. There's a lot of activity out there and really enjoying this market, Gary.
And we're going to keep people informed, aren't we, Phil?
We are, Gary.
Whether you like it or not, we're going to tell you what's happening out there on GPTV. I'm Gary Pearce.
I'm Philip Kingston. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next week.
Have a nice break.